Good day, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California with Morsels of a Thought number 1685. It has been this many days in a row that I've come to you since January 2nd of 2021. I've been trying to bring you morsels of a thought of wisdom so that you may know the right things to do in life, get an idea, and what to avoid, know what to avoid. Those are wisdom, knowing what to avoid and knowing the right thing to do, and then doing the right thing is called virtue, believe it or not. So you can bring virtue into the world just by taking good care of yourself. You change your energy fields. Anyway, so we won't get into that part, but we will get into the Tao with Lao Tzu. I didn't have time to write down his name for the quote, but here we are. Lao Tzu wrote the Tao De Jing. Dao De Jing. That's how you pronounce it in Chinese. Dao De Jing. That's why some people write it with a D, and a J occasionally. Okay, so the generals have a saying. This is number 69. The generals have a saying. Rather than make the first move, it is better to wait and see. Rather than advance an inch, it is better to retreat a yard. This is called going forward without advancing, pushing back without using weapons. There is no greater misfortune than underestimating your enemy. Underestimating your enemy means thinking that he is evil. Thus, you destroy your three treasures and become an enemy yourself. When two great forces oppose each other, the victory will go to the one that knows how to yield. That knows how to yield. That is where virtue comes in, too. The most virtuous one may or may not win the battle, but the virtue always wins the war. And at this moment in our time, we are actually partially in a very tumultuous time. They say that it would be very important to get cash in small bills because once the electricity goes off, your digital money is nothing. So be careful and keep some gasoline in your yard or you know trunk, something like that. The generals have a saying. This is called going forward without advancing. There's no greater misfortune than underestimating your enemy. And when two great forces oppose each other, the victory will go to the one that knows how to yield. In other words, the reed, go like this and then. Number 70. My teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice. Yet your intellect will never grasp them. And if you try to practice them, you'll fail. My teachings are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? If you want to know me, look inside your heart. Looking inside your heart, you will find many, many, many parts. And the thing is that you must learn to be alone with yourself. I know this is difficult for some people because I've had the difficulty myself. I went for decades without being able to look inside myself. I couldn't be alone. I had to, the second that I would be alone, I would think of something to say or do or distract myself with. It was very, very hard to stop and think for myself and love the way my heart was was where it was. So look inside your heart. It is very difficult in some ways. Very, very difficult. Number 71. Not knowing is true knowledge. Not knowing, not hyphen knowing. Not hyphen knowing, like not knowing, the act of not knowing. Not knowing is true knowledge, presuming to know presuming to know is a disease, first realize that you are sick, then you can move toward health. The master is her own physician. She has healed herself of all knowing. Thus, she is truly whole. This is the painting. Painting. Very interesting. This one shows a landscape and a, ooh, no, lake with water on it. Did I show you this dragon before? This is an illustrated journey by Stephen Mitchell. He translated Lao Tzu is in the Tao Te Ching. So his Chinese would have been much better than mine. He's in the UK. So I've shown you this, and I'll show you the lake again. This is the lake up here. We're in Morsels of a Thought of Wisdom. We are bringing you Words and Wisdom Wednesday, 1685. Words and Wisdom from the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, translated with Stephen Mitchell's illustrations. An illustrated journey. I think he bought them. When they lose their sense of awe. Oh, yes, that's right. Number 72. People turn to religion. When they lose their sense of awe, people turn to religion. When they no longer trust themselves, they begin to depend on authority. Therefore, the master steps back so that people won't be confused. He teaches without a teaching so that people will have nothing to learn. You have to step back and down. That's what you have to do. Okay, so I think I'll pause here and do the rest of this speech with talking. Now, the talking is because I believe that my opinion is a very widespread one, but that it also is more insightful than the knowledge that some other people may have because of my access to two different sources of wisdom that turned out to tell me that actually Kamala Harris had won the election by a landslide because the uh, the fact is that there are people who know that the machines went dark for 2 hours all across the country. The voting machines went dark for 2 hours. So there's plenty of AI involved in taking the election and just turning it on its wheels, and saying, okay, turning it on its feet and making it go the other way. So this is my opinion, and it is my belief that Kamala Harris actually won the election, not by a little, but by a lot, and that this situation with Trump is going to change a lot once we can get people on the local level to write to their county recorders to ask for a paper audit of the votes on a national level, that we can do it so much. If all of us can do this, write to your county recorder and ask to have the paper ballots audited. In other words, count the paper ballots. They're still there. Count the paper ballots. We have to ask for it on the local level, or else it won't be done because the papers are in the local areas everywhere. So the paper ballots are in the local areas everywhere. So I want to say that these are when the corporations take over, we have a lot of people who don't realize corporations are now running our country. This has been happening for a long time. The first time I realized it was over 20 years ago when we found that corporations were the ones behind everything, including, well, I was concerned about PBS, which is the public broadcasting system. And I was noticing that the corporations contributed more than the viewers did. I noticed that when I was a child, but later on, I was told and I believed that and still believe that the corporations are really the monoliths. They're like people, except for they're bunches of people. They are like millions of votes in one corporation. So the money is coming from corporations to fund people like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a businessman. He's from the corporations. He is a corporation. He has been a corporation. He has been 17 different corporations, by my guess. It's a guess. And I want to say that when you have oppression, oppression is a situation where somebody is not allowing somebody else to do or think or feel or have the freedom that they deserve, the human freedom. And when the oppression, such as Chinese male dominance gets passed on and passed on and passed on. How does that happen? Well, it happens because the women also say, oh, the men are better than us. The men are better than us. Men decide whether we're a virgin or not. We don't get to decide whether we keep our virginity. Things like that are horrible, but they get passed along because even the oppressed, the people at the bottom, are perpetrating it, perpetuating it, and they are perpetuating it. They are making it last forever. You don't want that. You want to make sure that if you are oppressed, that you are not in part also keeping that oppression going. This is a different example. One is that no, I'm not going to say that one. I've already said that one. I want to just say that we need to go on the local level and start talking about the paper ballots that are sitting around for proof that we voted for Kamala Harris for president and that we need to come en masse to do this project. So I want people to know it. And also the thing about the dollar bills, that would be good too. I think that even though they say they printed more money, I believe that for a time there, we were not printing money at all because all the dollar bills and the bills we're getting, they were deteriorating and we were keeping them at a less good standard than before. Now it's still a little bit like that, but it's gotten better because I guess because Trump printed $2 trillion or something, 3 trillion, something like that. So wow, you know, we are in Morsels of a Thought of Wisdom. Words and Wisdom Wednesday. I hope that I'm passing on things to do that are virtuous, that you can do that will preserve virtue. You can do the right thing. Knowing the right thing to do is a form of wisdom. That is your wisdom. Knowing the right thing to do for yourself. Whatever the right thing to do for yourself is, even if it may be just starting to eat less cheese. That's me too. Sorry. It's if that is a form of wisdom. You're changing your diet, you're changing your body, you're changing your energy fields. Your energy fields you don't know about very much because not everybody in the world practices qigong, but qi means energy. Gong means work. So when you are working on your energy, you are changing it. Your body changes. You realize that your health, your heart, and heart and your heart and your mind go together because you are doing this and sitting up straight, stretching your vertebrae, and looking like your head is on a pulley, like this, like from chin to top. You go like this, pull up this way. Instead of sitting like this, you sit up this way and you stretch your back up and you don't lean on anything. I've learned how not to lean on anything for years. And people say, how come you can sit up straight that long? And it's because I learned how. You practice it. And the way you do it is keep your vertebrae straight because people don't realize that keeping the spine straight and stretched out is the right way to keep your health. It'll affect your heart. to do this. So, okay, those are all my words of wisdom from myself. We'll go back to uh Dr. Yan is the person who told us that. Dr. Yan Xing, Y-A-N is the last name. X-I-N is the first name. It's pronounced Xin. Xing. Yan Xing, Dr. Yan Xing. I say Dr. Yan. So anyway. Okay, next is Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, translated by Stephen Mitchell, an illustrated journey. The Tao is always at ease. It overcomes without competing, answers without speaking a word. Look at this. Look at this part. This is the first three lines, and I'm going to stop and say that look at the rules that I talk about on Tuesday and Thursday. Those are where you don't compete with other rules, women, because you know that the men are the ones that choose the faces, right? And then you don't compete with non-rules women because you know that their relationships with men are not of the high quality that you're going to have. And you also, in the rules, stay mysterious by not speaking a word much at the first three times you go out so that you remain mysterious and the man wants you more. So the Tao is always at ease. It overcomes without competing, answers without speaking a word, arrives without being summoned, accomplishes without a plan. You live that way. Its net covers the whole universe, and though its meshes are wide, it doesn't let a thing slip through. In other words, the mesh being wide means that there is room for evil. There is room for evil, but the Tao is still there. No matter how much the evil comes in or the good goes out, the Tao is still right there. It's magical. I have to say it's magical because energy produces more energy. Number 74. If you realize that all things change, there is nothing you will try to hold on to. That is so good. There's nothing that you will try to hold on to if you realize that all things change. Like I was looking at my baby cat today. I have two baby cats, two cats that are babies, I think. Um, little Esri. I don't know if you recall, but shot Esri 2 years ago. The kitten. Now she's a cat. I always say he. I don't know why. And she, I know, will grow old and someday she will no longer be there and I won't have her anymore. So if I realize that all things change, there's nothing I will try to hold on to. So I will accept the inevitable when it comes. So that is how I'm handling the Tao. If you aren't afraid of dying, that's in the very next line. If you realize that all things change, there is nothing you will try to hold on to. If you aren't afraid of dying, there is nothing you can't achieve. That's incredible. Trying to control the future is like trying to take the master carpenter's place. When you handle the master carpenter's tools, chances are that you'll cut your hand. So these things say that you want to be humble. I mean, it in the sum, it turns out that you're being humble. Okay, I'll read number 75. When taxes are too high, people go hungry. When the government is too intrusive, people lose their spirit. Act for the people's benefit. Trust them. Leave them alone. It's a good one. That's a very good one. The voting machines went black for 70% of the votes were tampered with. That's what happened. And the AI knows which places they know how to turn every single state and every single precinct into something believable. and something that has a plausible explanation. But in fact, those things didn't happen. So we have 70% of the votes, paper ballots, to account for that have been blanked out. So we need to write to our I want to say senators, but actually just write to your county recorder and ask them to please audit the paper votes of our county. And I can write to more than one county because I know I know people and I can help them write in their county. I mean, I can't write, but I can write it and they can use it. So we'll be doing that soon. And I want to say, I'm going to go through this Dow Jing. Okay, there we go. This is another picture. This picture is of a house. This is a famous picture too. This is a very famous picture. Mhm. Okay. Nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water. Yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. Number 78. The soft overcomes the hard, the gentle overcomes the rigid. I want to pause here to say, 英英雄难过美人关. Yingxiong is our hero, and the trap of the beautiful lady is hard for him to get through. Usually he doesn't get through it. It's an insidious way to say that the soft overcomes the hard. The uh, gentle overcomes the rigid. So here, everyone knows this is true, but few can put it into practice. Therefore, the master remains serene in the midst of sorrow. Evil cannot enter his heart because he has given up helping. He is people's greatest help. True words seem paradoxical. Ah. So, Master remains serene in the midst of sorrow. Evil cannot enter his heart because he has given up. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that this poem says that you want to use the method of the reed rather than the tree. The tree is rigid. The reed can blow in the wind. In a very huge wind, the reed might lose a few pieces of its top, but it will blow and it will still stay in the ground. Whereas the tree will come out completely. All the trees will come out completely. So the gentle does overcome the rigid. Okay, number 79, very quickly before we go. Failure is an opportunity. If you blame someone else, there is no end to the blame. Therefore, the master fulfills her own obligations and corrects her own mistakes. She does what she needs to do and demands nothing of others. Okay, we read that. Okay, I will talk to you again later. Remember what I said in the middle about writing to your county recorders? Um, this is so that people understand what really happened in the election. We want to prove or recount all the votes. Okay? Old Kinderhook.